Well, hello and welcome to a conversation around District 1 with Mike McKay. You know, today my special guest is Mayor Laura Freeman Legge. And before you hear from her, I need to tell you some of the great accomplishments that this mayor of Westernport has performed in her short time as mayor. You know, in July of 2019, she was elected as the first woman from the town of Westernport. She is an Allegheny County circuit rider. She is very, very big in the Trail Alliance, as well as through the Gap Trail, and really is interested in some of the parks and recreations that here is available in Western Maryland, more especially along the Georges Creek development area. And I'm here to say that in 2021, she was one of the honorees as the Leading Women Award that was put on by the Daily Record. And so, Laura, my gosh, a lot of accomplishments in a small little town and a small little amount of time. Why don't you introduce yourselves and welcome to a conversation.
Oh, thank you, Mike. Hi, my name is Laura Freeman Legg. I am the mayor of the town of Westernport. I'm also the circuit rider for Allegheny County through Maryland Rural Development Corporation, and I am the secretary of Mountain Maryland Trails. As Mike said, we're very active with the GAP, and I'm in some trail development, or I'm trying to help promote some trail development. So,
yeah, it's a lot of exciting stuff down there. A couple months ago, you and I had taken a tour to kind of reintroduce myself to the town of Westernport. What's about the population of Westernport for people that may not know a little bit about Westernport?
I typically tell people it's about 2,000. I think our last census has us a little bit lower than that. I believe maybe 1,700, but you know, sometimes those numbers aren't completely accurate with who's actually filling those out. So I'd say about 2,000 is still probably an accurate.
Okay. And of course, Westernport is part of the whole Tri-Towns. So that's Piedmont and Luke. You know, the Luke mill that was there for over 135 years was such an economic driver for the community. And unfortunately, it had shut down. And but why don't you tell me some of the things that you're trying to do to overcome the void, and some of the things that you see are positive for the town as we go forward.
Okay, yeah. So the mill shut down in 2019. I had worked there. I was a third generation. I didn't technically work for the mill. I was a contractor, but you know, my grandparents met there at the paper mill, actually. Since the mill shut down, we were really concerned with the amount of union workers that we actually had in town. We didn't know what to expect with people moving out. Luckily, mostly everyone that I know, still a couple people here and there, have been able to find jobs elsewhere and have decided to stay. So we really didn't see a lot of movement out of town. One thing that people used to comment on when they come to Westernport is the smell. Well, since the mill shut down, the smell's now gone. So luckily during COVID, we saw an influx of our houses sell. So we have some affordable living here, and it's one of the major benefits of being here. Plus, it's a beautiful area. So
absolutely.
So we saw a good bit of people move in. Lately, I've been working on. We have a boat launch here, and that's utilized pretty well every day. So last fiscal year, and which we're still in, I guess. This fiscal year, I should say, we received a grant through Maryland DNR to update that a little bit. So that's one of my kind of fun projects right now, to get that a little more user friendly and try to bring people in. One of the biggest things that I've been pushing, though, is the rail line abandonment. So there's been the former railroad, which part of was used during the mill, but further up the Georges Creek, up towards Lonerconing and Shaft, hadn't been used since the 90s, and that had recently been filed for abandonment. So we kind of jumped on the opportunity to try to talk to people, and I was actually talking to people about it before it was even filed for abandonment. of, hey, this is a great opportunity to try to bring a trail down into the Georges Creek community and to connect into Mineral County, connect over into Loop, which would connect into the Barnum Trail. And there's just a lot of possibilities, potentially connected to the Gap Trail if that trail gets developed. And right now, I know DNR's in negotiations. It doesn't quite, it's 7.52 miles. It doesn't quite get to Westernport, but it takes it to about Barton. And Barton has a trail currently that's a nice little walking trail. I see some people on their bikes on it every now and then. So I was hoping to kind of bring some economic growth in that way. And it was a little different than how other people think, but I see the possibility.
Well, I tend to believe that it builds upon the overall tourism footprint that Allegheny County has in general. Obviously, the Great Allegheny Passage has been very, very successful. The Trail Alliance is as a treasurer. About how active is your group? And what besides this, are there other missions that you would like to see us make that footprint much larger as we look for outdoor recreational opportunities?
Yeah, so with Mountain Maryland Trails, they have a board of 15 people, and I'm their secretary this year, and I was last year as well. They're very active in the Gap and helping with maintenance, and they help with wheelmen is part of. They're separate, but they come and talk during our meetings. Sorry, I'm blinking a little bit. I've got some of the stuff here in front of me, but we keep track of things. Right now we're working on getting a camera system set up along the Gap Trail, and I'm kind of excited about that. We're still in early stages, so I don't know if I'm really supposed to be talking about it or not, but I'm excited because I think it'll be nice to get on our website and be able to pull it up and see what the trail looks like at the moment, especially for those people that are cross-country skiing, because right now we're big in the cross-country skiing part of the Gap Trail. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of good things that are coming and bring so many people to our area. And we want to just not necessarily bring people just to Frostburg and Cumberland, but we want to bring them down and see all the beauty that the whole Georges Creek has, and especially the town of Westernport. We talked about the boat launch. I believe you recently got a new grant for that.
Yes.
And the reconstruction. And so, if I'm not from Westernport, can you maybe explain exactly where the boat ramp is and how you foresee once those grant dollars are spent?
Yeah, so right now, if you were to come to Westernport from either from the McCool area or if you're coming down from Frostburg, so Westernport sits right at the mouth of Georges Creek, where it flows into the Potomac River. So actually right there, right where it flows into is where our current boat launch is. It's usable. There's a little bit of a drop off if you were to walk down there. It's really pretty area though. Like I said, it is used daily. Right now, so our grant, I believe, was about $120,000, and $20,000 of that is going to go towards engineering costs for some of the design. So it may be something that needs to be further developed moving forward, but I'm hoping to get a decent parking spots, because that's where lacking in parking spots there at the boat launch. It's right next to there's a museum that just reopened a couple of months ago. So it's actually right across the street from the museum. I'm not sure what their dates are of when they're open, but it's nice to see a lot of the railroad history along there, because the boat launch is actually right on the other side of the railroad tracks.
Yeah, it's really, you had taken me down there. I did not know the boat ramp was there, didn't know that the access to the water was there. And I can imagine if you're a kayaker or just want to fish or just any kind of access to the river right there, you definitely would take advantage of it. So is there anything else that you can think of that we need to discuss about the town of Westernport and some of the things that you'd like to see going forward, or do you think we've touched on pretty much everything?
Going forward for the town of Westernport right now, we've really, and in the past, currently been focusing on infrastructure. And I know everybody's talking about infrastructure lately, but that's big for us because we have an aging water system and an aging sewer system that was put in at one point in time in sections of our town and out of town by the paper mill. So we're still utilizing sections that were put in by Westvaco in the 70s and the 60s. And some of that's just never been updated. So that's what, if you can hear the construction going on outside my window, that's what some of that is right now. We're in a phase 4 of our water line construction. To finish our project, we're looking at about $18 million to finish our entire water system and then have a brand new water system. And recently we finally got a number on our sewer system, and we're looking at a $22 million sewer project overall. Obviously, that's not going to be something that happens right away, but it's something that needs to happen over the next 10 years.
Well, I know that the delegation under the leadership of Senator Edwards and Delegate Beitzel and the other members of the delegation, myself and Buckle, know how important it is, that infrastructure for the town and the area there, really trying to figure out post-mill activities and trying to figure out how is the residents of some 2,000 plus, when you take in other factors, how they're going to be able to take this cost share and make it affordable still to live in this part of Allegheny County. Really tough. So I look forward to fighting for you and making sure that we can, make sure that Westernport gets its fair share as we go forward, along with my fellow members in the delegation. So I just want to say thank you very much. We really appreciate you coming and sharing a little bit part or having a conversation about the town of Westernport. And I thank you very much, Laura. You're doing a great job. And anything that we can do, please reach out to us.
All right. Well, thank you, Mike. Thank you for having me today.
Awesome. Wonderful. So in week 3 in the Annapolis, we've just finished that up. We just had the governor with the state of state. He had given his address, and some of the highlights of that he was talked about was his accomplishments in the 2 terms as a governor. A couple of those things were the balanced budgets. He was able to do tax cuts for all of Marylanders, as well as repealing the rain tax and, of course, lowering the tolls. But, one of the things that we talked about, or he talked about, was important going forward was the crime issue in the state of Maryland, and especially when it came to Baltimore City. And unfortunately, January was the highest amount of violence and murders, that is, in 50 years. And so Governor Hogan is calling upon all of the leaders of the state of Maryland, as well as the General Assembly, to address the growing violence program in there. And one of those bills that he's put forth that I have also co-sponsored is the Violent Firearms Offender Act, and also the Judiciary Transparency Act. The Firearm Act would simply just put in there that the penalties for those who use firearms in a crime would get the stiffest of penalties. And then the transparency for the sentencing for these criminals, that the public would know exactly what there are. Was very, very proud to be part of the Maryland March of Life rally in Annapolis this week. And I thought I would end with some of the Allegheny County wins here that showed up in the budget. As you well know, we are a member of the Appropriations Committee. And then on the Senate side, Senator Edwards is on the Budget and Tax Committee. And a lot of these budgetary areas that would be coming to places such as the town of Westernport, it's important for us to fight and maintain that funding. So one of the things is that there is some highlights in some of the schools, infrastructure, and then also Rocky Gap Park. So there's $2.79 million in the state providing to help the Allegheny County school system, public school construction program. This is all going to be distributed between Bell Elementary, Braddock, and Washington. Another win for infrastructure is in Flintstone, the wastewater treatment plant. as well as the Frostburg Combined Overflow Sewer Elimination Program. And then, respectively, they've received $1.3 and $2.9 million from the Department of the Environment. And of course, this will overall improve the water quality within Allegheny County. And finally, another great win for Rocky Gap State Park, the campground site improvements of $3.9 million from the Department of Natural Resources, and which will enhance the overall park when it comes to tourism and those residents here who like to use those parks as well. Stay tuned. One of the other conversations, we'll be talking about what is funding has come to Garrett County. But once in a while, I'd like to thank you. Thank Mayor for being here. We appreciate seeing you, Laura. Just remind everybody that I am your voice in Annapolis, and I want to hear from you. So if you can give me a call at 301-697-2622, or you can email me at mike@mikemckaymd.com. On behalf of Mayor Freeman Legg and myself, we'd like to thank you for this opportunity to listen to a conversation around District 1 with Mike McKay.